I want to show you in this video all the design options available under the Viewout landing page builder. On this view, I'm already inside my landing page edit mode, and you can see on the top the black toolbar is where you can find your housekeeping settings, help, support, and also some previewing options. That blue toolbar is for text editing and will become active as soon as I have some text and I am in inline editing mode. The left is where you have all your toolkits. You have pre-built templates by Viewout. Hover over them, drag it and drop them to the middle grid in order for you to use them. You'll also note we have pre-designed blocks, which are smaller designs, smaller elements like headers, header intros, and these are pulled out from the designs of the full template. So you can use, for instance, the stop header and drop it onto the grid. We also have upload your own. If you have your own designs, simply upload it from here. Make sure you have zipped HTML, which is the same exact name as the index HTML inside. So if your zip file is called template.zip, the HTML inside should be called also template.html. Okay. Once you upload them, they'll be available under My Designs option. You also have things like features. Scroll down and you'll see a whole bunch of options with 4-column mode, 2-column mode, 1-column mode, and so on. You have call to actions. These are blocks with a button. And you also have forms, which are quite popular if you'd like to add a caption or create a downloadable registration, etc. And I'm going to cover how you can manage the settings for that. Okay. You also have other options here. For instance, if I click back, design, and I want to add my own grids, you'll see under my design elements, layouts, like this one has 4 columns. Then you have components, which are elements to drag on the screen. For instance, I can drag a countdown, I can drag a button, an image, paragraphs, and so on. I can even drag containers inside this view. So I can drag a 2-column container and then just go ahead and drop in an image here and another image to the right. Always look for that feedback. It's quite sensitive. If you see this option right here, which is on the bottom, more of a feedback from my cursor, that means it's not going to do anything. But if I have the blue feedback, it will drop the image exactly where you have it. Okay? So important to note that. You can undo your work if you click back. And you even have e-commerce elements which could be personalized with the user details. For example, past visits, order history, that sort of stuff. Once you have your elements in here, for instance, this is a text element, you'll see this becomes active. I can change the font colors, alignment, and I'll also be able to make copies of specific elements within this block. If I zoom out a little bit from my screen, I will show you something or more of how this functions in terms of elements. This is an entire block of content which is highlighted in black. All right, so right here in the grid, you see this entire background exists inside a block. And inside the block itself, I have a button, text, an empty column, an image, which is the logo image. So I want to differentiate between the entire block of content and elements within the block itself. And elements can be kind of moved around. So if I want to move my button up, I simply click on it, and you'll notice this little menu, which is draggable. So I can drag it and drop it in here. And maybe I can just make a copy of this paragraph to add an additional CTA. It should be very simple and super flexible. Okay. This is another button here. I'm going to drag it and drop it right in this view, and then replace this one with the one below. Feel like a designer already. Now let's look a little bit at some elements that needs configuration. For example, if I go to my pre-designed elements and click on forms, I have a whole lot of designs here that I can use. I will simply use this one for now. So let me drag it and looking for the feedback, drop below. Now I have a form element or form block. This form block, you see on the left, I have a form setting. So if I ever lose it and I want to come back to it, you'll notice this little menu which is highlighted on the top left of each block. This one doesn't have any forms, so if I click on the settings, there's no settings which is form specific, but it does have padding and background colors. So if I don't want this image, I can simply delete it and the image is gone. Of course, I can redo. Okay. However, this block contains a form, so if I click on settings, it shows me an additional tab on the left. Okay. Some options related to forms. For example, what I can do here is use existing email lists, which is a form that I have already created, or I can create an email list to capture the submissions. So any new submissions that come in will actually be added to a new list. And the way this gets configured is the moment you save, it's going to create a list in VBout that captures the information. Ideally, configure your own list, add your own fields, and then just use them from this dropdown. So I'm just going to choose master lists for the time being. You can see how VBout pulled in every single field inside that list. So if I want to simply kind of disable some of the stuff here and keep some of the basics, all I did is uncheck them, choose the label if it's inside or above the field. I like them inside to compact the form. You can allow multiple submissions from the same contact, meaning the same email can fill out the form over and over. Or you can simply follow the default list settings that you've set up before. You can enable webinar registrations if you've connected Zoom or GoToWebinar. And then you can redirect after submission to an external page, to an external landing page. And we even have options here to take your form submission and parse them into the URL. So the receiving end, if you have a destination thank you page or something like that, all the data that gets pre-filled here, you can capture it on your side too. That's it. So you see the fields got populated in here. There are quite a few options as well, which are pretty helpful. For instance, if I want to add a countdown, I can go to my pre-designed blocks to find one, or I can just go to my design elements to drag and drop a countdown here. Now, because this is an element within the block, I click on it, and the settings on the left is going to open up. All I have to do is supply the end dates for the countdown, and it should be good to go. All right. More options worth looking into. You also have payment buttons. Payment buttons are powered by PayPal or Stripe. So by clicking on the button, which opens up on the left payment settings, I can choose what I want to use. Now, of course, first thing is to authenticate by simply adding an email. That's all it takes for authentication. Adding your PayPal email or your Stripe email and Stripe key. You can get these from your Stripe configuration. Okay. People clicking on these buttons will be redirected to PayPal or to Stripe to complete the payment process. Here you have the e-commerce options, which packs a little bit more. These are entire blocks of content. They're not elements. So if I drag them and drop them, you'll see I have, for example, one product description, but I can show 4. It picks up from the store. So there are quite rich options here that I can leverage in terms of e-commerce. And the content itself is not inline editable. You can do it from the left. For example, I have my styles. I can change the buttons from buy now to purchase. You can see I can change the font to whatever I want, and I can change background colors and button colors and stuff like that. So everything you see on the screen is pretty much configurable. Okay. Now, a few more things to note. One of them is the ability on the left to change margins, and look at this feedback that I have from these different margins options. For example, if I click in the middle, now I can change margins as I want, but nothing happens because I unchecked the left, right, top. By clicking in the middle, now if I change this, obviously it will make a difference. Okay. You can change line heights, and if for some reason you don't find what you're looking for, try this plus option, which kind of pulls up some additional style sheets that we've hidden within the left side of the screen. We have a lot of powerful options with the editor. I highly encourage you to go in and experiment. And if for some reason you need to go into the source code and make your own edits, we allow you to do that. Just do it cautiously so you don't break any style sheets that we have.